Morning. So let's have some fun here. Kind of sleepy. Don't even know if I should make this video, but
And
kind of feel like making it at the same time.
so souls have at stake in this life their hope of eternity in the life to come.
It's kind of mumbly right here, so don't worry about it. It's kind of mumbly for everybody.
Man's duty is not to acquiesce in his merely human state, but rather in the strength of his contemplation of things divine, to scorn and despise.
Talking about what actual gnosis is, that it's a way of learning. Then we would call these people that have learned this way to learn Gnostic, which are just all a bunch of stupid names for real shit. The real way of how to learn and how to do it.
That mortal part, which has been attached to him because it was needful that he should keep
And it'll clear up in a second. I think it will.
and the lower earth. The Gnostic texts are much tougher than
Oh, yes. The Gnostic texts are much tougher than...
the Hermetic text.
Much tougher than the Hermetic text. Well, the Hermetic text is all talking about spiritual stuff, as in the pendulum swinging back and forth. Anybody that's read anything the Hermetic text, well, in this reality right here, if you start swinging a pendulum, it's going to come to a stop. We're talking about another place with the Hermetic text, while it's one and the same. We're just not going to face certain things with the Hermetic text.
Texts have a very stark vision that in the Gnostic system, the material realm is wholly evil. And
now here's the hard thing, because this is the old belief. And this is a tough video because it's like I'm claiming I'm Gnostic or sticking up for Gnostic. No, it's a way of learning that we've attached a name to.
the spiritual realm is completely separate from it.
You know, the old way that's actually Christian type stuff, that the world is an evil place, and then the spiritual place, that's the good. That's our duality again. We cannot think past it. We will just produce more of the same.
And it is a
Oh, and don't let me make this video like somehow I'm cutting this dude up. He's way freaking smarter than I am. And this video is awesome because he's trying to explain this stuff to an audience that's completely oblivious to it. That's what's fun. Watching all the buffers that he has to run, because he's going to straight up destroy egos and shit if he goes too deep into anything.
Cosmic accident that has resulted in the human predicament, that we are material creatures, but there is a divine spark within us.
Yes, and with this type of stuff, I would like to interject that these truths are self-evident. That's what Gnostic means. That's what, when he's talking about, oh yeah, these Gnostics believe, he has to say believe for everybody else, all the people in opinion and all. Oh, these truths are self-evident for anybody who wants to discover them. You'll find out that you have an inner life, and you'll find out that you have an outer life of the world. You'll find out that the outer life of the world is completely ran by the ego. That's why we would call it evil. But we're just ignorant to it. We're ignorant to the demiurge. We're ignorant to how it's our ruler.
And the whole purpose of the Gnostic project was to liberate the divine spark in man, which meant...
Yes, which means that the ego becomes the servant instead of the fucking master. That's kind of hard when we talk about, you know, liberating the divine spark. Well, liberating it from what? We have to know what tyranny it's under.
Liberating us from the chains of matter. So, in summary, Gnosticism is ideas or coherent systems that are characterized by an absolutely negative view of the visible world and its...
See, that's the stuff that I'm making the video for partly too, is the buffering. This is the old Christian belief system, which it also is Gnostic at the same time, while the funny thing about this video is it's one more time where it's like I'm claiming to be Gnostic, but I'm not. I'm just middle pathing the shit.
And the assumption of a divine spark in man, his inner self, which had become enclosed within the material body as a result of a tragic event in the pre-cosmic world from which its can only escape to its divine origins by means of the saving gnosis.
The gnosis right here, to do this properly, anything that you don't know for yourself 100% you can't prove, all that kind of shit, then quit believing in it. If you don't know the cataclysm, if we can't go there, if we can't know exactly what it is, how it happened, all that, quit fucking believing in it. It's ruining your shit.
Now, both Hermeticism and Gnosticism see reality in these starkly dualistic terms: dark and light, good and evil. The true God is the pleroma, the spiritual realm, and the world is the physical realm.
And this is a part where I don't even know how to make this video, because I don't know if the part where he really hits heavy on the demiurge and shit is like in the middle of this. This video is 16 minutes long if I play the whole thing.
They don't intersect. They touch at the edge, but they don't intersect. And here's why the Gnostic...
The demiurge, which is our ego itself, which most people can't see, which almost everybody has backwards as they go and beat the shit out of everybody's soul and spirit. They claim it's the ego. Oh, that's just a prank, bro. That way I destroyed your soul and your spirit. That could have no way been the demiurge itself, as it claims to be doing something nice. And you just can't take a break. You just can't take a prank there, spirit.
Got themselves into such a lot of trouble with the Roman Catholic Church.
Oh boy, has anybody that's ever gone to show this truth ever been in trouble with the Roman Catholic Church and the entire fucking world? Every single person in it.
And indeed with all of the monotheistic faiths.
And then the funny thing is, since they're a bunch of belief systems and faiths and all that kind of shit, they have to turn around and take the way of learning, then label it as the same shit that they are. Oh, yeah, this has just got to be the same religion and all that. No, it's not religion. It's how to fucking learn and shit. Where all the religions got it wrong, tried to copy this shit, turn it into a black and white fucking system, and you see where we are. You see how funny it is that Christians can be given the Bible that gives them all this information. They're not allowed to fucking read the thing.
Because in the Gnostic scheme of things, this fellow, Yahweh, YHWH.
Oh, this is some of the fun part. Look at the massive buffering that goes on, because this dude will absolutely destroy everybody's house of cards. It'll take us a long way to get from point A to point B like this, but, you know, there's so much for me to be said on we will never get from point A to point B like this. But it's all we can fucking do. Everybody will turn around and kill you. Everybody will turn around and ruin your fucking life if you show them anything real.
Person that we have been taught to call God. And I don't mean to cause offense here to those who pursue this belief system. I'm simply reporting to you what the Gnostics...
And everybody knows what he's going to say. He's going to say, hey, you know how you always thought that God of the Bible was some evil, twisted fucking bastard, and you just could never understand the ruthlessness, but you were just supposed to accept it somehow? Hey, guess what? You were right all the fucking long. You already fucking knew and shit. And then that's what he's saying. He already knows, oh shit, the people can't handle shit like this. They built their lives on a bunch of fictions and shit.
They said that this entity...
The God he's talking about is the ego and shit. The one that we all have confused, the one that rules our fucking lives, rules everybody, rules the fucking world and shit, as everyone's oblivious as they got ego fucking backwards. Then they take all this shit, since we can't see ego and shit, we're just blind of what it is. We take everything and turn it, oh, this must be a bunch of fairy tale fantasy shit.
Thing, actually, as they saw him, who called himself Yahweh, Jehovah, was not a god at all. They said he was a kind of demon.
Yes, he's a kind of demon. He's the ego itself that tricks you into doing shitty ass shit, then hiding it from yourself as you tell yourself what a great fucking person you are.
Who had hoodwinked mankind.
Yes, he had hoodwinked mankind into doing this, into trading the spirit for the ego. Now, all of mankind goes around beating the fuck out of everyone's spirit and soul as the ego is praised, as we are blind of what fucking ego is, as we are blind of that's the God of this world, that's the God of duality.
Into believing that he was God. And
Yes, that ego has tricked every single person into believing it's God over everyone and every fucking thing, and everybody does its bidding at every fucking moment. And you better not go against it, because the collective consciousness will kick in, and everybody will be fucking after you and shit in one big fucking witch hunt.
So there's that line in the movie The Usual Suspects, the greatest trick the devil ever played was to convince the world he did not exist. The Gnostics took it a step further. The greatest trick the devil ever played was to convince the world that he is God. And therefore they saw that
Oh, it'd be so much more fun if you said the movie Revolver, then brought up clips of it. We all just fucking roll over laughing at that point.
three monotheistic faiths, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, all worship the same entity as a kind of deep.
Yes, they all worship the ego. When I'm not allowed. Does this sound like the ego to you? I'm not allowed to read the book that has all the teachings in it. I'm smarter than it already. Does that sound like it could be the ego from every single fucking faith and religion? I'm better than the teachings. I follow Jesus, but I don't do the teachings because I'm better than them. I know more. I've never seen them. I'm not allowed to read them, but I'm better than them, and I know more. I don't need. I got it all. I'm better. Does that sound like the fucking ego or what?
And worshipping cults, which had pulled off this trick on mankind, substituting a diabolical, pompous, overblown.
Oh yes, pompous. Oh, a Levi Clay, ruled by the demiurge, ruled by, yes, a pompous, fucking ruling asshole piece of fucking shit that doesn't care about nothing, just wants to ridicule and slander everything.
Egotistical
And
entity.
that's the funniest part, because he says it, egotistical. Yeah, he already knows, but he can't say it because all these people will turn into the demiurge, then fucking run after him with pitchforks and shit. Oh, you told me the truth. Let me fucking persecute you for that shit.
Which constantly demands worship. It's extremely jealous.
Yes, the ego constantly demands worship and is the most jealous motherfucker that could ever fucking be.
Not allow you to consider any other thing.
Yes, the ego will not let you consider anything else. If you go outside of the ego shit, the ego will go into a big fucking rampage on everybody.
This entity who will burn you at the stake if
Yes,
you actually don't
this entity will burn you at the fucking stake if you don't follow it, all of its shit, and it works through all the fucking people around you.
believe in him. They saw the monotheistic faith as a kind of demon worship, and that's why the Roman
Yes, it's demon worship. It's fucking Satan worship.
Church
I mean, how can we be so fucking blind and shit?
set out to destroy Gnosticism, and the Gnostics were amongst the first to go to the stake.
Yes, Gnostics were the first to go to the stake because they went around doing the prodigal son teaching. They went around teaching people how to look at themselves, but people weren't fucking big enough and turned the fuck around. Oh, I'm gonna kill you for teaching me how to see myself. It hurts too much. I don't want to see all the pain that I've caused everybody and myself. I want to pretend that I'm the fucking nicest, greatest person in the world, and I don't give a fuck if I create all the fucking suffering in it. I just don't want to fucking see it.
And to suffer that horrible death. And they saw that this Yahweh had created the physical world and had created human beings.
The duality that we live in, the ego perpetuates it and creates it. We don't all have to live it. We can live in the duality world, but we all don't have to live in duality. That's where our soul is higher than this.
But that the universe took mercy on us and gave us this divine spark.
And I almost wonder if I should stop it here and make another video, because I want to get to the part where he starts talking about the garden, but I don't know where that is, if it's a long way away or what.
As I said, the Gnostic project was to free us, to free that divine spark.
Yes, it's the great work in itself.
And the demiurge.
The demiurge, your ego, my ego, all of our fucking ego.
The thing that we call God was.
You know, how is it so? It's so simple. It's so simple. If I took 100 people, 500, 1,000, 10,000, just regular, the old population, and asked them about ego, they would be completely confused, but they would stand up. It would be the only thing that they would ever be fucking sure of. Then if I talked about the divine spark in with it within everybody, that would have to somehow be up for debate and opinion.
Supported
More grandiose work of the ego.
by archons, evil angels who would mingle with men and take the form of man and would mislead us, constantly mislead us.
Yes, yes, this ego takes the form of man and misleads everybody at every fucking moment while it comes off like, oh, I'm this loving and caring thing.
Down the path of darkness, so that we would never realize our divine spark. And the Gnostics had an extremely positive view of Christ. They saw him as,
yes, the teachings that free all of us, that cover the entire earth for all time, that are not up for opinion or debate, that every single person can discover.
the great Gnostic teacher who brought the healing gnosis to mankind, who brought the liberating knowledge. But again, he was hiding.
Yeah, the prodigal son teaching and all the other one, all the teachings that take us past duality and the narrow gate. And yeah, it's there for all time, covers the entire earth. And yeah, it's what frees us. These truths are self-evident.
By the archonic forces of the church and taken away. The true teachings of Christ were hijacked.
Yes, the true teachings of Christ were hijacked, and that's how we created all the religions, all the faith, as it's one big ass ball of confusion that seems to have no beginning and no fucking end.
From the Gnostic point of view, it was an absurd idea that Christ would die for our sins. We have to take responsibility for our own.
Yeah, we got to take responsibility for ourselves. That whole thing of, oh yeah, Christ will do it all for me, and then I'll just never learn anything. I'll be the same stupid ass piece of shit that doesn't know how to read the book, that claims that I read the book and I'm better than everybody. That's what we want.
Sins.
We don't want to that whole take responsibility for your. Well, that takes a lot of self-reflection.
You can't have somebody dying for your sins. He came in the time of darkness to help us find the necessary gnosis to escape.
Yes, he came in the time of darkness to help us find the necessary gnosis, way to learn. Way to learn.
The demiurgic realm. So the Gnostic story of the Garden of Eden, like so
we're going to get to the garden.
many other things in Gnosticism, turns what we're familiar with completely upside down.
Oh, this part's fun because of all the buffering that has to be done. Because once again, houses will be fucking smashed if the truth is actually told.
We are taught, in the system of the demiurge, we are taught that the serpent was the bad guy. That there were Adam and Eve in the garden. They were living this pristine life in just total ignorance.
Now here's the hard thing. The garden story, don't think that you are smarter than Satan. That's where you will always fuck up in this shit. If you think that you're more cunning than the ego knows how to wear every single mask and pretend that it's something else while it uses duality to do it. So this whole garden thing, where we got this god and then we got this snake, and then somehow we're tricked into eating the duality that makes us go down. Then we have to learn from there. So it kind of seems like there might be some cahoots here with the old god walking around trying to fuck man over, and then the snake fucking man over. Then man is locked out from the tree of life after eating the trees of good and evil.
And they dare to eat of the tree of knowledge. They tempt.
And what I'm interjecting here is, I guess, something new. Because I've heard all the stories of where I guess that's where that would really be Gnostic stuff that's not really Gnostic, where we're just going to turn around and go, oh, the snake must be the good guy because the other dude, and no, don't. It's way more. It's way more complex than just turning it around and going, oh no, the snake must be the good guy then, and then that guy that was claiming to be God, that must be. Don't we have throughout the Bible this whole fucking game being played of one against another and shit? I'm gonna play the snake now, then I'll play the fucking God, and I'll pretend I'm two different fucking things and shit.
Eat of the fruit of the tree of knowledge by the serpent, and the serpent, and this is somehow.
And then see, this is why I say this. That don't think that you're smarter, because if you go to this shit of labeling, like, okay, now The snake is the bad guy. I put all my ducks in a row. Well, when the shit comes up of learning around the world, there's going to be all kinds of shit that comes up of the snake and how it was good and then how it was bad. And here's this aspect and that aspect. And you have to be able to look at all of that to be able to learn properly. So we don't just put a keep out sign of, oh, we just decided the snake was bad. So if anybody has anything different to say, you're the fucking enemy. We're trying to avoid that right here.
The wicked thing.
That's why I'm saying that it's not as easy as we think it is. It's extreme. It's way more fucking complex. It's way more cunning.
Do that they should have knowledge of good and evil. Because the entity that made them wants them to have no knowledge whatsoever.
Yes. Now listen to this. The entity that made them, and if you don't know how this is all real or whatever, then quit fucking believing in it if you do or you don't until you actually know. The God doesn't want us to know anything. Yes, that's the ego. It's exactly the same as it is now.
Just to be completely ignorant.
Yes, to be completely ignorant, for the entire world to run off of Jackass, so that we look up to the movie Idiocracy as man could never reach those types of heights ever again.
Living in ignorance.
Yes, that's the plan. For us never to know our real human history, who we are, and everybody to be so dumbed down they can't even ask these questions. What I'm explaining is the world all around us, right fucking now.
And darkness in the garden. And the serpent, by giving them the tree of the knowledge of good and evil,
the serpent gets them to eat the tree of good and evil, where they sit there and persecute each other in the shit.
Has done a terribly wicked thing, and that the serpent is the devil, and that for this reason Adam and Eve are driven forth from the garden. Now, from the Gnostic point of view, the serpent is the good guy.
I'm not so sure about that. Maybe in other sects. See, that's funny because this is where I make it out like I'm like Gnostic. I have nothing. I'm a dude that knows how to watch TV and listen to fucking music, and I have a fucking set of eyes and a set of ears. It's not that easy.
Gnostic point of view, we got to have knowledge of good and evil. How?
Yes, you actually have to have fucking knowledge. Now that we've eating the trees of good and evil is when we sit there and we persecute each other in them, as we're completely blind of how we're playing this blue and red, black and white game on each other. Then now we're in the process of learning and looking and going, oh, you know what? That shit isn't real knowledge. That whole shit of where I just think I'm better than everybody, I somehow justify it to myself, then I hide it from myself, then I call myself the greatest fucking person. That's what the trees of good and evil do. We're learning past those.
We grow as spirits and souls. How can
Yes, we have to learn about them and grow as spirits and souls and leave this animal kingdom, this whole fucking thing of where nobody makes any progression, nobody ever does anything. People just blackmail and slander each other, and that's all we have as humanity. We call it everything.
Liberate the divine spark in ourselves if we're just these robots, who are not ever thinking for ourselves, who can never make a choice. Aren't we defined by our choices? The Gnostic said, how could we make a choice between good and evil if we don't even know what they are? Of course, from the Gnostic point of view, the serpent is the hero of the story, not the villain. And the serpent is bringing Gnosis to Adam and Eve.
Isn't this such a freaking beautiful video? It's so I can't wait for everybody to watch the whole thing.
And this is what happens to them. Of course, they're driven out of the garden. Their bottoms humiliatingly beaten by angels with swords.
And then we turn that somehow into, oh, that's Adam and Eve and shit. It couldn't be representing all of humanity. No. In no way, shape, or form could this be representing all of fucking humanity.
Where angels are posted at the edges of Eden with whirling swords to prevent that they should ever gain access to the tree of life.
See, the tree of life. We were tricked into eating the tree of good and evil, which made us all persecute each other, that locks us out of the tree of life with our own judgments, our own ego locking us out of every fucking thing.
Because, Genesis says, in a very mysterious passage, then they will become like us, gods. Can't let them do that.
Well, that's difficult right there. That's really difficult and fun. become like us, gods. Everywhere that I've researched these gods, I end up in things like, I'll bring it up again, the Tibetan Book of the Dead and the Egyptian Book of the Dead, where we take a grand tour and we end up at the gods where they're in a lower level because these gods are jealous. If I explained everything, I would just end up with ego at the end. So somehow the gods are the tyrants that keep everybody, that have their big kingdoms and all that shit.
So let's keep them away from the tree of life. Whatever we do, they've already got the knowledge of good and evil. They're halfway there. We have to keep them away.
So what makes it interesting, as the story has always gone, we somehow have a higher form, which is our divine spark is higher than the ego. Doesn't it make it interesting that the gods are consumed by ego, everything about ego? So it's lower.
So that you can see how the Gnostic take on this is
It's
completely
lower as in stuck in the same fucking duality.
different from the mainstream religious take. And you can see how the Gnostics, why they suffered such horrendous persecution
Oh, such horrendous. It doesn't fucking stop. It does not fucking even come close to fucking stopping.
at the hands of the church. Interestingly,
But I'm sure all the people that do it would say, no, that's some old shit from a Bible or something. In no way, shape, or form could we be doing the same thing to you that we've done to the Gnostics through all of history. We kill them because they tell us the truth and it hurts our fucking ego.
in later Gnostics,
Nothing has changed. YouTube's doing it to me as YouTube supports everybody doing it to me. No problem with that. The Gnostics have been killed through all fucking time. No problem there. Just protect everybody fucking else. Hey, those people that sell kill all Jews, kill all niggers and all that, they'll be well protected. The Gnostics will be killed through all of fucking time for trying to share the real truth that totally fucking frees everybody from their fucking slave.
systems which managed to survive in certain places.
Now, what's fun about this entire video is like an hour and 40 or an hour and 50 minutes where he touches on everything. He even goes into ayahuasca and shit. And I'm going, all right, this is going to be fun because it's actually going to be something real. We're going to get real explanations. The dude is so fucking awesome. He actually finishes it up explaining that the ayahuasca is the power of self-reflection. That's what gets you in the door, and it's only the beginning because it's an entry into the fucking teachings, which is exactly, not to have any ducks in a row, for the self-evident truth for all of us to be exactly identical. That is what is to fucking say. That people will want to replace everything all the times. When it comes to the mushrooms and all that, they'll do it with this too. Well, the mushrooms and shit never taught you the teachings. They gave you the ability to fucking learn them because they gave you the power of self-reflection, where the ayahuasca shit, holy shit, if you're on a full ego, you go do that ayahuasca, which it's almost impossible for anybody to do it. You're going to see what you've done to everybody and yourself, and you're not going to be able to hide it. So when people do ayahuasca, they start crying, and why are you crying? Because I finally got to look at myself for the first time in my fucking life. And then the people are ready to do some teachings after that.
With great difficulty. It's interesting that the tree of life is depicted as a psychedelic mushroom. This is Amanita muscaria, an identifiable psychedelic mushroom which is used in shamanistic cultures all over the world. Are they telling us that there is something in the visionary experience that these plants allow us to have, which is liberating, which provides us with the necessary gnosis to transform ourselves?
Yeah, it's somebody on a full ego that you cannot get through. There's absolutely no way whatsoever. Yeah, give them some of this ayahuasca and let them trip out on them fucking selves. Let them see what they've never been able to see, what nobody can show them, just them fucking selves, how they've been their entire life, how they've treated everybody and themselves, all their shit. The biggest thing is, I thought I was such a fucking nice person, to realize I'm not such a nice fucking person.
From a strictly material condition. The flood, the Gnostics see that differently too. It's not inflicted to punish evil, but to punish humanity for having risen so high and to take the light, the gnosis.
And that's a mystery to all of us. What is the flood really? How was it done? It's such in a fairy tale version, while there is a real understanding for us all to know.
Was growing amongst men, and the survivors were.
Oh, I'm sure what's being talked about here is ego was what was growing amongst men and infected humanity itself. We're in exactly the same fucking predicament.
Thrown into great distraction and into a life of toil.
Yeah, man is as wicked as it could possibly be because we let the ego run the entire fucking world.
So that mankind might be occupied with worldly affairs and might not have the opportunity of being devoted to the Holy Spirit. Again and again, the Gnostic.
Yes, might not have the time to be. Isn't that the world? Aren't I explaining everybody's existence every single moment of fucking everything and shit? Yeah, you don't have the time to sit there and devote your life to the Holy Spirit because this world is all about serving the ego at every fucking moment in its collective fucking consciousness.
Providing an alternative take on the story that we're given in the Bible, and that alternative take is disturbing.
That's the fun buffering stuff is, yeah, I guess when you first hear this stuff. But see, it's a bunch of ignorance because this is the Christian religion that all Christians already know. But then if you told them, they wouldn't get it. And they would fucking be mad. There's in all Christians already know this isn't God's great perfect fucking world, while at the same time they're in confusion about it. But if we try to clear up that confusion, that's what would make them angry. They want to stay in that, well, let's see, we walk around all just being hypocrites with it. Well, if it serves my purpose, I'll talk about this like it's God's fucking perfect world and shit. And when it doesn't serve my purpose, I'll fucking talk about it like it's fucking Satan's world. But if we ever talked about this in any truth whatsoever, that's when it's time for me to go.
But we are intelligent creatures. Let's consider it. Let's consider what they're saying. Throughout history, those who've sought the liberation.
And it's funny because he's trying to tell them, hey guys, while he knows he's so fucking intelligent and shit, while he has to play stupid for everybody right here.
The light knowledge of the true nature of things have been persecuted.
He has to play stupid because he knows, hey guys, what I'm about to tell you is so fucking backwards from what you know, but hey, if you actually meditate on it, these truths are fucking self-evident.
And that's just a plain fact. Gnosticism was stamped out in Egypt.
Yep, nobody's allowed to have any self-evident truths. Nobody's allowed to have truths of any kind. You fucking monkey see, monkey do your way through the shit, or you will be gotten rid of.
In Palestine.
And the funny thing is, people think shit has actually changed. It's why I live my life the way I do, to show you all that, no, you all haven't changed. It's the same fucking people persecuting the same shit to hold up the fucking ego. The God of this world, your fucking God, the one that you fucking serve and shit.
There were certain survivals, certain sects survived. They got out of there, they moved off, they became the Paulicians, they became the...
That's all good for Jesus to do, but I couldn't. That means we live in the ego. If it's not good enough for us, that's all good for Jesus, but I can't do that because, fuck, I mean, I wouldn't have any friends anymore. Oh, fuck. Everybody would persecute me like they did to Jesus if I actually wasn't ruled by the ego. If I actually rejected the God of this world would reject me.
Mills, they moved into Bulgaria.
And really, I let the biggest teachings of all slip. The teachings are about how to get kicked out of this fucking world.
They moved up into northern France.
As in all the songs that talk about this is always, I wouldn't bow to Satan, so I was kicked out of Satan's world.
They established themselves down here in southwestern France.
And this looks like a good spot. I mean, there is no good spot to stop it. I took 16 minutes or 14 minutes out of an hour and a half of video so that I could, if I needed to move around it, I could. I'm only a little bit past halfway. There's so much, I'm only halfway into what I really wanted to get into. And of course, the link for the entire one will be here. It'll be in the video. For most people, this video just will be impossible for you to watch because your ego will, you put all your ducks in a row, you got all your belief systems, and you're just looking for him to repeat the parts where you've chosen to believe in something. Then you'll go, he's right. Then when he says something that doesn't match where you've chosen to believe in something, then you go, he's a liar, he's a skit. That's how you know you're stuck in duality.